4, 3. We are live, ladies and gentlemen.
This is 2OF Entertainment.
Hey, there we are. Here, let's freak out the fans. Ooh, there we go. So, I know it's scary. So, how you doing?
I'm doing well. Doing well. It's going really good. Yeah, we're
Very cool.
busy, and the shows are. We've had some really interesting conversations and artists this last while, and especially this. Yeah, this last part of the year. So
And
we're
you have one
continuing.
today. And you have one today that brown car guy would probably love because she paints
Hopefully,
cars.
yeah, he likes new stuff mostly, doesn't he?
Well, he likes cars in general. Like we just did a whole thing on a Pakistani collection, and he's got cars from like 1930 to today. So we'll have to let him know that this show's on because he'll love it.
Let him know about Anne Simmie's work. I mean, we're talking about she this series. I mean, she paints more than vehicles. Now, her vehicles are different. These ones are aging ones that are kind of been reclaimed by the land and the grass and the woods, and she hunts these things down and paints them as part of her. I don't know. It's something I'm going to find out why she paints these things. That's what we're going to talk about. But it's there's personalities that are in these vehicles, and so we're see whether how she's finding that, and let's just bring Anne in. I mean, we'll
and there's Anne here. We'll give Anne a wide screen. Anne, it's a pleasure. Have a wonderful show with Paul. I'm going to disappear because nobody wants to hear me say it's pretty. You guys can talk about the actual nuances of painting and whatever. So enjoy your show, and we'll see you at the end. Cheers.
Nice to meet you, Stephen.
Yeah. Well, good morning.
Good morning.
Well, I've been to a couple of your shows, and this last year, I guess, in the last year, and I was quite taken by some of the vehicles. Like you paint old vehicles that are kind of reclaimed by the land. I guess I almost call it that way because it's what it seems to be. So can you give us a little bit about your art journey, like where some of this started and where your painting beginning in the where you to get to today, I guess.
Well, I was thinking about this last night after I talked to you, and actually I went to ACA, the Alberta College of Art, way back in the late 70s and the early 80s, and in one of the summers when I was there, I went to an artists and writers retreat at Fort Sand, and up the hill and around, if you went on a little walk up the road and around a little hill and away, there was a junkyard. And I went up there with some small painting, some small canvases, and did some plein air stuff of really smushed cars like that big one we were looking at yesterday. And in one place there was this big pile of just old metal and parts, and this little sapling growing right up between them. I didn't have a picture of that one to show you, but I still have it around somewhere. And it's just something, it just struck me like there's writers could just put a lot of metaphors there and read a lot, and that's kind of what I like. The reclamation to the earth. I like the beauty of the things that are aging without being then like fixed up, shined up,
Yeah.
I just love the aging of them. And there's that anthropomorphic thing too, that a lot of them seem to have some kind, not the really wrecked ones, but the ones that are just in a field gradually aging. They just have such personality to me. So I've kept on with that subject off and on.
Yeah, it's one that I think a lot of artists that are drawn to, they don't stay with it a long time. They may do a little bit here and there, but you take in like the curves of some of those older cars and the fenders and things, and when you add the grasses and things to them, they have kind of even though they're man-made objects, they do have kind of a natural thing about them in their own way, I think.
Mhm.
I tend to like them because they become these voluminous shapes within a linear background. So in other words, you're drawing and painting grasses and forests and trees and different
Yeah.
things. It kind of breaks up the larger space of the side of a vehicle or as different things. Anyway, I'm gonna get Steven to start. Let's start our first video or image up here, and we'll get to. We can talk about this here, and people can see what we're talking about. How now this one isn't in so much in the weeds, but this one really, because of the angle, it has that draws you right in. You kind of you can feel the curves, and you kind of want to be part of it. How big is this piece, by the way? About
It's about 3 by 4 feet.
yeah, so it's a fairly major piece. Yeah, no, it's I guess. Do you stay fairly true to the photo you took, or do you take liberties to remove things a little bit, or?
Pretty true. It depends. This one would be pretty true to the photo. This one I took in, it's in somebody's driveway in Outlook, and I just stopped by and took a few shots, and I got one with the angle I liked, and I stayed pretty true to it. Although you can see some elements, like it's not photorealism. But some of the ones that are out with a lot of other junk around them, I edit or I change it to a winter. Some of them I've changed to, something simplified, I guess. So
Does that happen when you're actually painting, or do you predetermine that before you start? So in other words, you start working on it, says, oh, this feels more like it should be like that, and you kind of change the color palette a bit, or
it's when I'm painting.
yeah, mostly
When
when
I'm
you're painting.
painting. Yeah.
What kind of things go through your head when you're painting this thing? Does it get like, I know I'll paint on some things, and before I know it, it's 5 or 6 o'clock at night, and
Yeah.
it's just you're in a different zone.
Yeah.
I don't know what you call it, but a lot of artists, they seek that fairly quickly to get into that zone, especially if you're painting on a same painting over a long period of time. Do you get into those zones a little bit when?
Well, yeah, I think that zone is like one of the best places to be. When I'm painting, everything else is, I don't, it's just the best place to be, really, other than just out there taking the photographs and being in nature. It's a great place once you get everything set up and you've decided what you wanted to paint and look through a billion pictures because I have so many.
Yeah.
And then, and I just get started, and a lot of them have a lot of layers, and I've painted over and changed things. And sometimes I'll show you some where there's just stuff in here that doesn't matter. There's some old garbage can, or there's some stuff, and I'm just get rid of that and make it something else. And then, then I have to think about what would that light be like on that, and how would it be, make it, and I can choose to either make it look like try to make it look like nature, or I can choose to just leave some parts unfinished and go, okay, well, there's the orange underpainting and a bunch of drips, because everyone knows this is a painting anyway.
Yeah.
So.
Well, I found, I don't assume too many things with artists or buyers and clients and people that want things. They know their vehicles. A lot of these people that come to these shows, they even know the model of that truck, or maybe that. So do you prefer to do trucks over cars, like the old trucks, or about the same?
That's a question. About the same, I guess. It's the patinas and the shapes, like some of the, as you mentioned, those curved forms and the patinas, and then the contrast with what's around. So it could be trucks, could be cars. A lot of the trucks really have those gorgeous forms, though, and
those big front fenders, they have the lights like you've got it right now. But I really like even metal is soft. Like you got the grill that leads you up into the page really nicely. And then as we see later on, you'll see how some of the nature of grasses and things are integrated with the image, and they're not fighting each other. They are actually like they belong together. It's like they became friends. And
Oh, yeah.
I think there's one that's similar to that.
Yeah.
I love an engine full of grass. Yes, sir. That's that.
Running on, yeah, it's an eco fuel. No,
Yeah.
it's that's from Amigo's Junkyard, and then again, like there was some other stuff in the background, and then I just went for more of a abstracted. It's not even doesn't even exactly look like a sky, I guess, but yeah, sometimes the foliage growing through is a major, a major part of the attraction for sure.
Well, it offers the rhythms. I almost feel like you can feel the wind a little bit in that. In the prairie, the prairie, I guess a lot of these are on the prairies.
Yeah.
We have a lot, actually, in the prairies. We have a lot of old vehicles. They're surprisingly an archive, and I guess part of it is because in those years we didn't put salt on the roads. Like if you're down east or out west, the cars only last a few years, and they've pretty well rusted right out. But on the prairies, they're dry. It's dry
Mhm.
weather generally in the older days. Anyway, I think we use a lot more potash on our roads now than we for salt, and it does eat the cars up a little bit. But the so this one was that other car part of the background, or were they both cars
Right.
in
It's there. Yeah, they're both in the picture. And then there's some other little random stuff that I left out, but
Yeah. No, it had a yin yang thing to it where the one car going one way, one car going the other way. And I like, even though the trunks are open and the hood's open, but they coming
conversation.
coming and going. Yeah, they had that coming and going feeling a little
Yeah.
bit. And but I love that, that little sparkle of chrome that's still a little bit of shiny life left in that vehicle. And this is a vibrant piece. And I mean, and I love that sky. I mean, it's not a blue sky. I mean, it really complements nicely with the patina actually of some old paint. Actually, it kind of looks like that. So things are marrying really nicely. But do they feel like sometimes you're they're having conversations? Is there conversations sometimes going when you're painting these two items?
Um, I'm it's not like I have putting words to them in my head or anything, but I am thinking it's so companionable the way these are
Yeah,
like together some of the
that's what I
times.
meant. Yeah,
Yeah,
they belong together. They've been there together, friends for a long time. They've been probably
yeah,
parked within a year or two of each other. They've probably been parked there, but they
yeah.
kind of and they tend to grow together now because they're the foliage that's around them. But yeah, they just feel comfortable. They're not just pulled in there now. They've been there for a while, and it's a great. I don't know if the word is graveyard, but it's a resting spot. and
A resting spot is how I like to think of it. Yeah.
Yeah, I think. Well, a lot of times these vehicles are pulled out and refurbished. Somebody will say, "I need that part and that part," so it may not be in its entirety reused, but at some point it'll be used for parts and become a vehicle again at some point.
Well, they chip away at them over the years, and some places, junkyards where they have so many, there's a few always like way in the bush
Yeah,
somewhere that the trees have grown through them so much, and all of the usable parts are out, and there's basically just a shell. And then they create also a sheltered environment for other little saplings to start growing in, and it's
yeah,
kind of symbiotic.
yeah. I I like that about nature, and that you're exactly right. How we as humans manipulate to make what we think is beautiful or farmland or do different things. And my great analogy was all the rock piles that a farmer would put in the middle of his field. Um, Part of that came from when they had horse and stone boat. That was the closest location to take them, right? They take them and drop them in the middle of the field rather than take them all the way across the field and put them in one stone pile way on the other side of the field, because they could only take a few at a time. So eventually they build this island in the middle of their field that they have to farm around. I mean, it's just so ridiculous, right? But there's a relationship that of push and pull with nature, and nature's always reclaiming what we do, and they create beauty from it.
Well, and in the case of like those rocks, it's a history, right? It's a record of all that work that people did. I mean, when I was a kid, went stone picking with my grandma, not with a horse, but they had an old tractor, and we picked stones out in the field one time. And so it's kind of, when you see those in a field, like that's a little record of history of some of those people that did that.
Yeah. But I see a lot of those little fields like this, trees grow there, and you'll find Saskatoon bushes growing there, and because of the rocks, they trap the different seeds. They create an environment within that ecosystem that's happening. The farmer's creating a field with a crop, all of one type of crop, whether canola or wheat, yet in the middle of it is this beautiful outcropping of a little island. I guess now they're trying to bulldoze them and move them out so they can open things up with the bigger machinery. But I really enjoy seeing that. Like I see cars here, like you've got here. There's there's a joy in. Yeah, this one's really consumed, and I almost see faces in these pieces.
There's like literally nothing left inside that one. It's right on the edge of this huge junkyard with, I don't know, like 300 cars. I don't think there's anything left. It's just a skeleton, and it's just happy out there.
It is. I think the shapes make it happy. I mean, it's kind of, I don't know. I can, a lot of your pieces kind of remind me of the Disney movie Cars, the Cars movies, right?
Yeah.
And I think the classics were, because it was the classics that they used for that movie, for kids movie, and these are classics in themselves, right? So they're and actually, so this was a truck, I think, initially a small, what is something from the 40s, maybe? That would be a.
You'd have to get one of those guys that come by my fence sale to tell me what it is, because I never think to find the thing and write it down. What was this truck? I just see it as a beautiful thing that but it looks to me like it could be one of those ones that had the wooden backs on the side, those.
Really? Okay. That would be nice. Yeah, they don't last very long, the wood. It would up pretty quickly. Yeah. No, it's so what kind of, where do you show your work? Like a lot of your work?
Well, I've been like really sporadic in showing, like, cause I did a couple shows when I was out of art school, AKA and this and that. And then 20 years later, I did something that I talked to Gary into giving me a show at the Snell Grove, and then I messed around for another 20 years, and now I'm showing like library a couple times at Hughes, and I'm in artist workshop. So hopefully this time I'm gonna stick with this and not,
Otherwise you got to store all these things if you don't sell somewhere.
Yeah, that's the thing. They've got to, everything must go. Yes, come to my.
Yeah, I think a lot of us are getting to that point. So how does, like, did you try to car shows, like anything like that at a car show, or?
Catherine Dewitt from Dandelion made a beautiful booth at Dragons last year, because she has artists that make things out of the old parts, and she had somebody else that paints them on glasses and things, and she took some of mine, and it was gorgeous. But I don't think people were that interested. They just wanted to look at, they're there to look at their real trucks. But if I can get myself organized to do it, I'm going to go put some leaflets under some windshield wipers when they're just around out at the, in the parking lots and things like that, because I do get commissions. I've had a couple of lovely commissions from people to do their very old cars. One of them had been in the family for, you know, since the grandmother and this woman's brother had kept it beautifully. It was gorgeous. She sent me a picture of it. I didn't have to change a thing. The background was perfect as it was. And that car had been burnt in a fire. It was lost. So it was lovely to do that and sit and visit with her and, you know, have this, you know, they were lucky they had a photo of it.
Yeah.
And some things like that, you know, people like to record because they put so much love and money into restoring those that.
No, it's nice that you're able to do that, because I think that brings joy to a lot of people.
Yeah.
That we had an artist friend that we know that would recycle bicycles, and so you take your bicycle to him, and Rick Pollock, and Rick would make them into his famous dogs, right? He'd have dog bicycles. So somebody's bicycle that his dad rode, he said, well, I don't want to store the bicycle, but Rick would MacGyver that thing into his bicycle dog, and then it's a little smaller piece that's been put on, the guy can put in his living room, and you remember a nice remembrance of a family that you know, something that was special. So vehicles being, I guess, the same, and just they're a little bigger, but you've got to.
At least the painting isn't that big. It's just flat on the wall.
That's true, but I think they resonate a lot with the person that buys it, the painting. So that has to have a connection for them, whether they like antiques or whether they just like the texture, or maybe they're environmental people and they like to see how these two are getting along together and how one's reclaiming the other one, but they're getting along, I guess. We'll leave it at that. I mean, I could read a lot of stuff into stuff.
I know. Yeah.
You get going down a road too far and you say, okay, I got to stop back out.
Well, there is all that. Like, I agree with all those things. So,
well, this one is really different, though. This one is about an interior. So
yeah. And you're right. That picture is a little bit fadey, but it's more vibrant than that. So I don't know why I took the picture like that. But anyway, yeah, I like that there's sort of like two viewpoints in there. Like it's kind of split. You look out one way at the prairie, and then you look the other way and you're looking this is at that Maymont guy's place. And he has a whole row of vehicles. Oh, I'm pointing at this as if you can see it. You can see through multiple car windows. Like I think I can see almost as far as the third truck in the row. And
right.
Something I just really liked about that, and the warmth of the sun shining on that interior.
Yeah. Yeah, I like that symmetry of window. It's got kind of a different way of looking at that. I never thought about that. The depth that can be created initially in a shallow piece, right? It's very flat because you can only see the interior basically. But this one becomes more, to me, the human experience, more so than nature experience, because it's just an inside of the vehicle. So all the mechanical devices that are there. So it's that thing that's been left by a person. You know,
and that steering wheel that had their hands on it all the time, and
I think we get a little romantic about it.
Yeah.
The car and truck driver, I mean, you spend a lot of hours in a vehicle driving, and a lot of these might have been even on the farm roads and farms working. They were working vehicles for a number of years. Nobody had a vehicle for just 5 years. They drove it. I mean, these things, they become a part of their family almost. I think most people name their vehicles. Get Big Red. Let's go get Big Red. Let's do whatever. They'd have a name for their vehicle.
Yeah.
Do you name your vehicles at all like that? Like,
no, my vehicles are just like little plasticky things, and they're not really like, my car just gets me from A to B, and it does it very reliably. But it doesn't.
I meant in the paintings. What kind of titles do your paintings have?
Oh, the paintings. Yeah. And you wondered, did I name my actual car? No. Yeah, this one, I think I called it Two Views.
Yeah.
Some of them are, I got to think of, there's one that was sitting in the field that looks a little bit smiley, and there's a sunset behind it. I called it It's Been a While, like you've run into an old friend. So they're all they tend to be a little bit anthropomorphic, right?
Yeah. So they're not specific about the model of the car. They're really about that relationship and the time that's been shared that in that piece. Yeah. No, this is. Yeah.
This one is called Henry's Neighbor's Truck.
Perfect.
Because, my two friends who are sisters both sent me pictures of this truck, and I thought it was their Uncle Henry's, who's a sweet guy that I know, and I painted it. And then I found out, no, this is Henry's neighbor's truck. I got a different one I need to paint of Henry's truck. So it's just called Henry's Neighbor's Truck.
No, I encourage people to go to your Instagram page, just Instagram / Anne Simmie. So they can see all of your. We didn't put all your images up on this show, but I think it's people seeing more of your work, and I think this really reminds me. This one looks like it almost could run yet. It feels like it's been.
It looks like a pretty nice shape. Yeah.
And they just run it across the field, and this definitely was a farm working truck.
Yeah,
and it's kind of but it's nice that people send you stuff. Like, do you find people do send you photos and send you links to things to find things for reference? Because reference is really sometimes difficult. Like doing this.
I almost always paint from my own photos, but every now and then, with explicitly, you might want to paint this. I might go ahead and paint it. A couple of times I've been on, like, Facebook Marketplace or something, and someone's been advertising a truck, and I've messaged and said, "Do you mind if I paint from your picture?" And they're like, "No, go ahead." But I never have done it yet.
Yeah. No, it's that anyway. I think it's nice that people kind of resonate with what you're doing, and if they do send you photos, it's because they want you to see. Well, see this one. Have you see this one? And I got this different angle. I've been taking some photos of old tractors, and and it's one here, one there. It's not just go in and bury myself in a whole bunch of tractors. It's just as they come about, and I just find that those shapes don't exist anymore.
Yeah.
These shapes don't exist in vehicles anymore.
Yeah.
Vehicles in the older days had each style had a unique design to it and look. Today's vehicles, I think they were saying some of the excuse me, SUVs, they're all looking alike.
Yeah.
Excuse me.
Yeah.
They all have that same shape, same look. So somebody has done some marketing, figuring out what people want to buy, and every manufacturer is making them almost exactly the same. So your Ford can look like an Audi. I mean, it's just at a certain point nobody's taking chances. Nobody's trying to. I think the poor designers are probably driving themselves crazy, trying to figure out how to design something. But I love watching the growth and changing of vehicles over the last half century. So, I can see vehicles from when I was a kid in the 50s change to the size, but also the shape of them and the function of them. I mean, they weren't taking kids to soccer in this vehicle, right? So now they build a van that takes kids to soccer, right? So lifestyle has changed a lot of things that we do.
Yeah, you're not allowed to pile all the kids in the back of the truck anymore.
Not anymore. Boy, I remember those days. A good ride in the back of the truck. The dog, you, and spare tire back there. Yeah. And go to the lake and jump in the water. Great things you can't do anymore.
This one's just called Big Chev.
Yeah.
I found it in an alley behind someplace in Outlook. Same day as I found that other one from Outlook. You can see that's just the big garbage bin at the side there. I decided to keep it just kind of grunge the way it was. So
there's surprisingly a lot of older vehicles in driveways and in garages, on the prairies. They're little hidden treasures. A lot of times guys I'm going to fix it up one day,
Yeah.
Sometimes it doesn't get fixed up. It moves on to the next guy who will actually do it.
Yeah.
But they have great intentions, a lot of these guys, and clubs like the Dragons Custom Car and Show. I think they encourage people to finish their projects. They're they're all integrated, and they have a network of how to get parts, and
Yeah.
beyond me. But I
Yeah.
love the feel of this car. It's just, I think that the light's a little bright on this one again too, just the lighting on it. But
Mhm.
the shape, it's yeah.
It's yeah, I like the angle of it, and it's yeah, I don't know why. I just like it. It has a strength to that car somehow.
A part of it is that angle that's shot low, but
Yeah.
I really like the mouth and the eyes on these, you know.
Yeah. There's definitely a face on this one.
Yeah, and they have it's got a, I could almost put a voice to that, how that voice of that car would be
Mhm.
if it was to speak to you. And I think
Do it. Do the
find that
voice.
sometimes they get a little caricatured, like sometimes when you paint them. Like, I hate
Um,
the word cartoony, but it's just caricatured. I think they'd be.
well, some like those two old timers, that one I just sold recently. It's definitely, I see that one as a little bit cartoony. I don't think I did it on purpose. I just sometimes look and go, oh, this is just, there's just something about the subject that winds up that, just because there's always that face, whether you're thinking about it or not, that will have some expression if you're doing it from the front, right? So they do tend to be a little bit cartoon characters.
And I don't know if that just comes from, familiarity with vehicles. After a while, you get to know them, you get to know the shapes,
Hmm.
and I think at a certain point you could almost draw cars without looking at the photo.
Yeah.
As to say, to give you a certain look. This one is just voluminous, nice, beautiful. The fenders and the hood, and I do love the Chrysler logo. Like, that's that little bird thing that just looks beautiful in the front. That sparkles
Yeah.
that front hood, and it's the nose, right? It just has that. Actually, it's probably more the mustache on that guy between his eyes, but that old English mustache they used to get,
Yeah.
or the little broom one that used to be, the guy that used to be. But it feels no, it's a beefy looking car,
Yeah.
it's got a nice look.
This little one, I call it Bug Goes to Borden, because it's another photo that I took in Borden, because I was driving to North Battleford and back a lot at one time. And there's a little fix-it-up shop right next, close to the gas station. And this bug is sitting up on a platform up high. And I shot a picture of it through the fence. And then it's got some signage down below and everything. And you can just see the edge of here I am pointing at the screen again. And you can just see the edge of the Borden Hotel there. And so as I was painting it, I decided I don't want to paint it on this platform. I don't want to put this fence in. I don't want the for sale. So I just kind of faked it in that it's just on the icy, melty snow at that time of year when everything's all grungy, icy. And I pretended there's a road there. And that the bug is just going to Morden.
Yeah. No, and then it's got a nice lyrical story to it. I think the other ones have a story, but they're more about the vehicle
Yeah.
because they were closed in, and the story is a little tighter as to what
Yeah.
it's about.
Huh.
This one, because there's nobody driving it, but it's still heading towards a building.
Yeah.
So you've now got two structures in there. You got an actual piece of a building, which is kind of different, and then the car. And I think there's a story there. I don't know what it is, but like I said, going to Borden, that's all it has to be
Yeah.
for anybody who would know where Borden is in Saskatchewan.
Yeah. It's a little road trip story there. Yeah.
Yeah, no,
Everybody knows the bridge.
and I love the patina on that car. I mean, it's really feeling the weather, but it's a nice way to give it a winter touch to that.
It worked pretty well. It was really winter in the photo, but I just kind of, took out all the extraneous stuff and
Yeah.
and
But having if it would have just had a rusty, brighter, rusty back fender, it wouldn't have had the same feeling. You know, that blue really ties it nicely with the rest of the image, and it really does give you a sense of winter
Oh,
and cold. Like it's cool out.
yeah.
It's kind of fun. I'd like it. It's different than the other ones, and that's why I kind of included that.
Yeah. Okay.
This one's juicy like a lollipop. It's just
Yeah.
like candy. It's like a candy apple. Like it's
Yeah.
just
So yeah, this is a little departure because it was what I took a photo in Market Mall when they were all there with their
oh, okay.
gorgeous cars. And the sky at the time, it was like sunny with like those many little small white clouds. And so it made all those crazy reflections. And yeah, I just thought it was pretty.
Yeah. Do you find your work going towards abstraction a little bit because of the textures a little bit?
Probably, I mean, just because of reflections and things, like the abstraction kind of just happens for you. And then I just abstracted the background, like I just went all smoky or something there. But yeah, abstraction kind of happens for you.
Yeah. Just have to follow the lines a little bit.
Yeah. Yeah.
No, I just feel like it gives it a different feeling when you can paint some of those reflections, and after a while you kind of wonder, where are you? Like it's like you're lost in a different world because the reflections dominate the subject a little bit.
Yeah.
And yeah, which is fine. It's just, you know, there's a play between, is it about abstraction or is it a reflection? Is it a this piece is really about reflection, and it's gorgeous. I think, was there one like they had with the grill was more vertical grill? Is this the only one you did like this one in the red one?
Like of a car that's all fixed up and shiny, you mean?
Yeah, of this, no, actually of this Oldsmobile. Is it the only one
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
painted? Yeah.
Yeah. And the funny thing is, like the reflections and everything, you really, the hard part is trying to find the balance between showing the reflections and also showing the form, like, because they mess with the form, so you get a little bit of compromise there.
Yeah, carrying a reflection over and under, like space that down the hood,
Yeah.
to get over that and on the other side of that, and to keep your reflection looking like it belongs, right? Because it's got to take into the fact that it's going over a lump and down the other side.
Yeah.
So it, I mean, some of that is played out, but but this has a nice playful feel, and it almost feels, I don't know, a little smoky. Like it just, I think it's those little clouds, like you said, those little clouds have given that
Yeah.
doppel effect on the hood, which is, but it's difficult to paint one subject like that and just it's full of reflection and you still know what it is. So people think this is easy. It's not as easy as you look. Um, well, it helps that you've got the front part's a little deeper red that gives you a presence that way. But I
Yeah.
think until you start painting reflections, uh, I know it's so when you took this photo, did your picture show up in it, in the reflection? Which is
Not
usually
really. Sometimes when I'm doing, I have to edit out a little bit of a bright thing I'm wearing that's reflecting, but I don't think there was anything in this one particularly.
well, it's usually a photographer's nightmare shooting something really, really shiny and
Yeah.
not put themselves in in the image as well.
Yeah, yeah. And
But
I
that's,
painted this one on I used a black gesso and painted, so I was really just bringing it up layer and layer and layer to get to the intensity of the color and the weights. So just kind of
so do you
literally
change that up?
building it out of the black.
So do you change that up from time to time? A black gesso, a dark backgrounds, or do you do the complementary? Do you put a sienna down and then paint over
Sometimes
it?
I do, sienna. It depends. Okay, I went to visit some friends of mine from art school, and Michael Miller was painting these boreal forest paintings, and he said, I paint the whole thing in opposite colors. You know, it's like a color negative before I paint, you know, so everything has its own. And I'm like, that's genius. And then I came home and I thought, I'm going to try that. Well, I tried that for about 10 minutes. And then I went, well, what's the predominant color on here? And then I used that underneath. And then since then, I've kind of been doing that. Often I like to paint over a pink or an orange or a sienna.
Yeah,
And
you get a
yeah.
feeling as to what you need for what you're going to do. I
Yeah.
think painting over a complementary color doesn't work all the time for somebody. If you want a little, I guess, a little catch of orange around some of your trees in your landscape, say you're doing,
Yeah.
it's fine. But I found that a lot of time painting over the complement, it took multiple layers to
It does. Yeah.
get rid of that color in the other area. And acrylic is being water-based, it takes a while to build that up. Oils, all of a sudden, same thing if you build in layers, but at some point it has to be kind of opaque if you want that color to sit on the top.
Yeah.
So you've got to build your layers up. And I just found sometimes it was easier, like you just decide what color you want as your back. It feels like it should be pink. I rarely do that, but never did that. I don't think I've ever done that. But anyway, it sounds like a black, even a black, I think I've only ever done one on a black background. I don't know. By the time I finished with it, you wouldn't know that it was on a black background. So it's like,
Yeah, that's true. It's kind of a little like Jedi mind trick that you do for yourself, where you think, if I do this, it'll be, and then it's just a way to get started.
yeah. Well, that's the main thing. Get started. You know, this is just get the paint rolling and the brush moving.
Yeah. Well, this is a very small one. Maybe that's why it looks fadey in the picture.
Oh,
That's also Henry's neighbor's truck.
perfect. Yeah. No, I love the sweep of the grass. The grass is really, it's like this little mask. You got to look through it to see the vehicle, and you feel, I love it. This one feels a little, I don't know what the word is. He's not a big heavy truck. He feels lighter, and I guess part of it is because he's kind of bluey green with the greens. So there's sort of blending with what's going on. And I love the sky. It's just that loose little, it's about the vehicle. It's really not about the sky. You're in a lovely little environment here. And he's sparkly. His lights are still there, and it's come visit me. I just kind of I guess they do draw you, don't they? They come visit me.
Yeah, I've crawled through a couple of fences just to get a little bit closer.
Yeah, that's more dangerous these days than not. Yeah.
I'm pretty. I don't do it if it looks too weird, but if it's those ones where they have, there's one just outside of Saskatoon. I saw it every time I came home from North Battleford, and I've got a picture of it. And I went through the barbed wire fence and just up the field a bit, but it's right by the highway. Like I don't know. Probably not the first person.
Yeah, I think as long as they're not picking parts, I guess that's all they really worry about. If they're well, you kind of wonder why they've left it in the field anyway, right? At a certain point. I know a lot of farmers, they'll leave their old combine is sitting, or threshing machine is sitting on the side of the highway, and it's kind of more of a remembrance of the old farm days for them. But it's got a little rock garden around it, so they've made it kind of a little, a thing of, I guess, their own personal little memento of farming. But these ones,
they make a nice landmark too, or you can put a sign on it for your business and that. So.
Yeah, you can.
Yeah,
this is a juicy piece. So I love this one. There's a lot of character in this one. This first vehicle's got this mustache, like you wouldn't believe, gorgeous mustache, and but they almost feel like they're bird-like the beak on that hood. They feel very natural. Like the designs in vehicles were just amazing. And here I'll use almost using my finger trying to point out things as well. But I love all the characters and symmetry and the different things that are happening in that front vehicle just above the fender. I mean, the swooping lines of the grill and the hood, and they're all kind of the grass is doing the same things, right?
Yeah.
This Tai Chi thing that's happening in all areas in the landscape, and yeah, it's just yeah, this is a lovely piece. Has this one been sold?
No,
Should have been sold.
should have been.
Should have been. Oh my goodness. Yeah, well, we'll have to see. Maybe somebody just look at this is a keeper, this one.
This one is called Hot Day on the Farm. A coworker of mine took me to see. She said, "Oh, my family has a whole lot of vehicles on the farm," and she took me to. And it turned out it's not really a farm; it's Scouts Auto Place. They've got like 300 of them in a field and all over, and it was so hot that day, and I think that it feels like that in the photo.
Yeah, no, it is. It's gorgeous. No, it's one of those things that you've got to. Well, a lot of times in an image, a painting, there's a dominant subject in a painting, but it also, I guess, conjures up a question. They should conjure questions and answers. They should be people say, "What's that about? What's that?" They got to have their. I mean, the level of question that a kid would ask is different than what a mature adult would ask, and then an immature adult would ask something different than a kid.
I guess, yeah.
Those are the questions that I'm trying to figure out what would people, why would they stop and spend 5 minutes in front of this painting? I mean, they're saying that a lot of times 30 seconds for a painting, people in a major gallery, but some people would spend quite a while in front of this. What would you say is the attention getter that they would be looking at?
Oh boy, that's a toughie. I think the colors, like there's a bit of a richness to the colors and those complementaries between that. There's always a lot of more purple than you think there will be, and pink in the rusty things.
Yeah.
So, and it's just so like.
Do you think that people see a relationship between the two cars? Do you think they think that way kind of fantastically a little bit when they look at, or is it just iron in the grass? So,
no, I think people see some kind of a story. It's not just the abstract qualities. I do think you see, like when you said that was like a bird, I was like, oh my God, they are they are like birds. And like when I was a kid, I would go inside, like on my uncle's farm or something. When you're a kid, you go inside those trucks and play and look around. And so they have that, they're a little bit inviting, I guess.
I think they are. I think they're come visit me kind of a thing. But I think there is, I don't know what they see. There is, I guess you're trying to connect with that person, whoever it is that walks by, woman, man, child, that look at it. Everybody sees something a little bit different relative to their personal time on earth. Like they've been around a while. So an older gentleman, say in his 70s, would see something different here in the 80s, 70s. Going, oh my goodness. But you see a kid 5 years old and they would look at that too. They say, oh, they could, they're not bored to death. They're seeing something they've played with cars and trucks, I'm sure, and they can see this big painting. How big is this one?
That is smaller than 3x4, but bigger than 2x3.
Yeah. Okay. Somewhere in between. Yeah. So it's a decent sized piece that would. Yeah. No, it's a lovely. I've left this. Yeah. And I've looked at it mostly just when I put the images up, but I have seen them before at your shows. I'm surprised this one hasn't been gone, because I think it's a gorgeous piece.
Thank you.
This was similar to your Borden one, right? This one has that. These ones feel different than and I'll call them almost still life ones that you do in nature. Like the last one is kind of more still life to me. This one is it's going somewhere. It's got an action. There's an action story happening into it, and part of it is maybe the way it is actually painted. Similar to that other one, Going to Borden, right? One of the Volkswagen, and yeah, this is an action one. It's got those, and those I think got the board runners on the back there. Is that one? Yeah.
Yeah.
On the
Yeah.
truck.
It's got wood on the back. Yeah. And that's what it's funny you should say that, because this truck, it's on 6th Street near other side of Preston from me. And it's been there for years. And I drove by it many times before I stopped and photographed it. And then I drove by it a couple days ago and it's still there. And, yeah, I just love it. I think it's absolutely the most beautiful thing. I have photographs of it from all different angles and some close-ups, and it might feature in a few more paintings.
Yeah. Have you painted any night ones at all with evening light? I think some people have pulled things like this up to the Dairy Queen, right, at night, and you'd one of those things when you have that different kind of light that would be on a vehicle in the evening. Street light is a little different. It really changes the feeling of that vehicle, but they tend to be, let's say, mobile at that stage because you can actually drive them. A lot of your vehicles they're locked down to the ground, so a lot of them are not moving.
Yeah, I'd like to. That's a good idea. I'd love to do some night ones, but then that means I have to be driving around on country nights with my camera and get those photos, and I'm not usually doing that, but maybe I will.
You have to go with somebody else when you do that. And,
yeah.
But yeah, it's just something different.
Yeah.
Because I think we're always, if you want the same subject and you're always trying to push it and farther with that same subject, how do you do it? What do you do to make it to say your style? But a different vision of it, right? In a different way. So I think, I think we're getting near the end.
Yeah.
I hope this one's a Dodge.
Yeah. Get out of the way.
This one's coming at you, and I love the design of this one. This is really, get your one big eyeball coming up from Freddie.
There's a little camera distortion, which is, because I got in there close with my wide angle or whatever, and that's okay because it gives you that
big nose,
whatever, a little more drama. But that one again was in Borden. It seems like I just have driven through Borden a lot, and there was all kinds of stuff around on the parking lot. Like this is just in the parking lot, so there's just junk on the ground, and I just blanked it all out and made it closer to an evening sky, a little darker, and it seemed to work. So
no, it's different than the other ones. This one has a different design aspect. I mean, of course, the winter scene really, you don't have to deal with all the other foliage that goes around it, but it's really about that vehicle. And it's I just love the sweep of the design of it. Like the design becomes really important for a piece of work, so that otherwise you're just a truck, right? When you take something off the page, top, bottom, left side, whatever, right side, it gives you a feeling they're bigger than they are. It's just you can't see it all. You can't see the whole vehicle. The whole right side is cropped off, and it makes the viewer really focus on the story, because in this one again there's probably a different story. I don't know how many farmers in the day at night going to the dance in an old vehicle in the wintertime, or like you can read a lot of different things into when somebody was in a vehicle at that time of
anything could have happened in there.
Yeah. Oh no, don't say that. It's warm in here. Beautiful. No, and this one shocked me a little bit because this is completely abstract. And I looked at the end, and can you tell us about this piece? And I asked you specifically, is this the right way around? And you said yes.
Yeah. Well, actually, when I shot the photo, it was in it was either in SGI Junkyard or in Amigos. It's a long time ago now, so I don't remember. But it was actually it was actually a horizontal view. And looking through where it looks like sky, there was a bunch of grass and weeds and stuff. And so as I painted it, and I was painting it vertically just because that's the way it fit in the kitchen I was painting in then, I started to like how all the heavy stuff was at the top.
Mm-hmm.
And when I figured out, I decided I don't want to paint this and make it really grounded. I'll put the sky in there. And there's something I just loved about having that tension between what seems like a heavy weight and being up.
Yeah.
So I called it weight. So,
This is very abstract still life to me. And if you look at the work of Ivan Eyre, Eyre,
yeah.
it feels very Ivan Eyre to me. I mean, he's a beautiful painter, drawer from Winnipeg. And this subject matter is just gorgeous. I mean, I can see all kinds of lovely things in here that excite my mind for a lot of things. But I love these little pieces of grass laid down, dried grass in the foreground. And there's a story here, and there's there's a ton of information going on here, but it's an exciting piece of work.
I always really, really liked it. It's 4 feet by 6 feet, which it might be the reason I still have it.
Well, this is a major piece. This is really a major, beautiful piece. And I think, boy, would I ever like to see more of this in your work, man. This is beautiful. What do you think, Stephen?
Okay.
I like it. I liked everything. It was very cool. So here's my question, because you're only on Instagram, so everyone just saw that, and we'll put it below. Okay. So what do you charge for your work? What's it range from what to what?
At the artist workshop, I sold 12 by 12s for $220, the little ones. And then if it's about a 4 by 3, that's more like 1,800.
Okay.
There's a little bit,
and that's like Canadian.
4 by 5 or 4. Then I get into like 2,200, something like that. So I go like roughly by size, but then I jigger it a little bit to be like an even number. And
there you go. And for everybody that's watching, it's in Canadian. So really it's $4 US, a couple of euros. It's not that, Mexican pesos, and it's like 12 billion. So don't worry about that. And then Zimbabwe dollars, it's like 50 trillion. So you're okay. I like it. So there we go. So there you go. For people around the world that want to know what it's going to cost to buy, there you go. No, your work's absolutely beautiful, and it's very vibrant. And I've been enjoyed it. And I think some of our car fans from our other shows on our channel will actually enjoy this as well. It's not the typical art. So I think it's I think you reach a wide variety of people with it. So it's very, very well, very, very well done.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
No, it was very enjoyable, and enjoyed seeing all your work.
Yes.
Appreciate it. And we wish you all the best, and we're going to help promote you a little bit and see if we can show you stuff to the world. I think it needs to be there. I think especially that last one. That's a gold one. That's a gold mine. So
thank you so much.
Reach Annie all below here on Instagram. So if you want to reach her on Instagram. And if you can't figure out how to do that, reach us here at the show. We'll put you in touch with her. And there you go.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. Have a wonderful rest of your day.
Same to you guys. Thank you.
Have a
Cheers,
great day.
everybody. Don't forget to subscribe and like, guys. Cheers.